It's a Monday, and figured I'd just go ahead and start it with the Bill O'Reilly Open. And John here, Jarrett there. And first off, apologies for the 906. Trying to get everything squared away. Rundown this morning is obviously opening kickoff coming up in just a little bit. And, we're going to be spending a lot of time going through and parsing through the Manchester City stuff this morning because there's a lot to digest, and we'll get into that. So we got Atlanta United and Atlante getting ready for the match against Cruz Azul. Will, I appreciate the idea that things are allowed to be a minute late. But since we're on Turner time, you kind of want it to be 9:05. You want 9:05 to be 9:05. You don't want it to be 9:06, 9:07. Sets a bad precedent of like 9:10. Then you're rounding off even further to 9:15. So whatever's on your minds this morning. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in the Premier League. We got Atlanta United. I was gonna do in hour number 2, Sam Wallace saying that the Premier League needed to save itself from itself, and we were going to get into that. But it's whatever's on your mind once again this morning. So John here, Jarrett there. Jarrett, good morning.
Good morning. Honestly, I'm kind of glad this came up. I'm glad they picked today to drop this news because I don't know what we can say about Atlanta United because, unless you were able to watch what was it, like a couple of minutes worth of
right,
like filmed on a phone that didn't have its rotation lock undone.
Yeah,
it was kind of hard to see what was going on, And so even honestly, this kind of chapped me a little bit because of the discussion of the first goal you give up, like Brad Guzan made in there. I'm like, did he? I don't know. Were you there? If you were there, I will absolutely take your word for it. But otherwise, when Atalante, sorry, I gave them another A. Atlante says he spilled it
over there with soccer down here, sir.
Yeah, when Atlante says, he spilled it, like, okay, was it a routine save that he should have made, or and that he just spilled it, or was it a ball that he made a really good save and wasn't able to corral it to the right area? I don't know the context of it, man.
No.
So, I think it was kind of hard to figure out the context of what happened with Atlanta United. We saw Ozatu with that little rocket, and then after that, it just kind of seemed like we put the kids in. I think they put the kids in as well on their side. 3-0 in that second leg.
Yeah.
Don't really know what to make of all of it. So thank you, Manchester City, for completely fumbling whatever the absolute hell it is you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because you gave us more to talk about.
Yeah. And literally, it was like I was going to ask how many folks got to watch the cinematic extravaganza, and what did it look like? Did it look like you were stuck in that ride at Six Flags that that we were in when we were kids, where you push your back all the way? And
Ricky has it a clip from an Atlante fan. Well, it was a long distance shot and Goose didn't push it wide. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense then. Cool. Because I hadn't seen a clip of it yet.
Right.
So thank you, Ricky. Yes. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Because I was curious, when it gets phrased like that, I'm like, was it like some long distance shot where he makes a really good save on it, but he's not able to push it, or is it a shot that you expect him to be able to push it wide? And it sounds like it was one he wasn't able to push wide.
Yeah. So
that he should have pushed wide. So yeah.
Okay. So
that answered my question.
Yes, and so Mateus Osechu scores from distance. That we did get to see courtesy of the Atlanta United social media folks. And much like the way it was in Chattanooga, it was 260s. Honestly, it was 430s. And you had the first 11 up for the first 60, and then you had the second 11 up for the second 60. And for Atlanta United, it was like it was in Chattanooga, where you had a twos side basically going up against Atlante's second decision there in quarters 3 and 4. Clement Diop was in net for Atlanta United, and so it was just another opportunity for Gonzalo Pineda to sit there and take a peek at the second 11 and see what you were chasing after. And so, of course, Tom Russo, Airborne DJ, just laughing at all the exploding heads. Season's over. We're going to suck this year, aren't we? Laughter emoji. Classic. So that's where Tom is this morning. And I know, Tom, that you are not alone in that. Morning, OG. What is up? So, yeah, I mean, right now you're working your way through. You've got a closed door friendly with Cruz Azul in the midweek. And then after that, it's coming back here for AmFam 2, Electric Boogaloo. Then it is the closed door match in St. Louis where they get to see City Stadium. And then they come back here and the season begins in 19 days going up against San Jose. So that's where you are with Atlanta United. Yes. And Gigi is incoming eventually. From what we understand, Jared, I think we're up to 4.3. That was the last number that we were staring at with allegedly Gigi coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was euros, so you're looking at 5 million American, I think. Not sure if that includes bonuses or what. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we are. Luis Abram is under. Well, and Coco, we will get to this question. So that might be the QOD. Who gets punished harder, Juve or City? So,
man, nobody is happier about this than Juve. Yeah. Because guess who gets to drop off of the biggest story in world soccer right now category?
That is correct.
Juve gets to basically be ignored for a while.
Mm-hmm. Juve's just kind of sitting there and applauding on the sidelines, sitting there going, "Yeah,
oh thank God."
Yeah, it's like go over there, go over there. So and once again with Atlanta United, Tom reminds us one season Atlanta United was 1-3 in preseason, got embarrassed 4-0 in your opener. What season was that?
It was the funniest damn game too, because it was like that game was hilarious because of the degree to which every possible thing went wrong in Houston. Yeah, genuinely was the funniest damn thing.
So that's I mean, legitimately, that's where you are with the mid-season match coming up, a midweek match coming up behind closed doors. So your next matches, your next markers, Cruz Azul behind closed doors, AmFam 2 Electric Boogaloo on the 15th with Toluca, and then season opener 10 days. Then you got St. Louis, and then 10 days after that you've got San Jose. So that's where we are. And like I said, pretty much as always, Mondays are whatever's open your mind. And whatever you guys want to talk about, because obviously we got a lot of stuff to talk about in the Prem. We got everything going on. But opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And this morning for opening kickoff, once again, reminder, if you use that QR code, use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% off of your purchase with everything that you want to purchase from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Jared, we've seen a lot of leaks. We've seen leaks of what folks might be wearing in 2023. One team, however, is not going to be wearing anything different. CF Montreal says that a new jersey will not be available at this time.
Okay.
Their team is going to play with the gray secondary jersey for the time being. And then the statement that they came out with is this. As part of the strategy surrounding the change of identity from Impact to CF Montreal, the organization had decided to add on the 2023 primary jersey an inscription in an indigenous language. The club is committed to developing lasting and sincere relationships with indigenous communities. As the consultation process with the indigenous communities is still ongoing, we've decided to pause distribution of the 2023 primary jersey to strengthen our approach by listening, collaborating, and co-creating concrete initiatives with indigenous communities. We are grateful to you, our fans, for your passion and we're committed to keeping you updated on the developments surrounding our plans moving forward. And that was what CF Montreal put forth of their kit, and so everybody's coming out with new jerseys except for CF Montreal.
Okay.
My thought in this was, could you not have had these conversations sooner? Perhaps
Probably could have.
to have things perhaps ready to go by the beginning of the season. I'm just saying, just thinking out loud.
Just thinking out loud.
Just thinking out loud. I mean, this was 2020. Now the rebranding process started 2 years ago, and so you wanted to add an inscription to the 2023 jersey. Started the process and talking 2 years ago. Is it that difficult to be nice to indigenous communities? I love the idea. I want to see what the inscription is, but maybe you could have started just a little sooner. Just a thought. So, you have the new primary jersey, new secondary. So the current secondary, the blue marble pattern, which I think is very, very cool, should feature the new club crest that was unveiled back in 22. And it was not made clear from the statement if the club's going to unveil a new primary jersey partway through the season, or if you're just going to wear the gray secondary all year long. They could use the black primary that was released in 21 if there's a clash with another team's colors. So we have no idea.
Just do a black and white if you're going to be if you're going to run it super simple. Just do black and white. Just do two hard contrasting colors. That's literally all you have to do. That way you don't clash with an opponent, and you give the referee a chance to wear something weird. Just do black and white if you're going to do this. Don't be like, well, we're going to do eggshell and
chartreuse,
and we're going to do like eggshell and Hemingway gray.
Yes. Kefsi with the more you know this morning. In the fun fact, Quebec comes from the indigenous word kayak, which means where the river narrows. I was not aware.
We love fishing in Quebec.
Was not aware of this.
They should get a hockey team again.
Was not aware of this.
Not in Montreal. Montreal doesn't really deserve good things. Give it to Quebec City.
Oh, you see, there you go. See, now that. Okay, so it looks like in the last half hour, and we don't have anything official on it, but breaking news sounder, which I need to get. Jesse Marsh has been sacked at Leeds. So we've got that this morning for a month.
Well, there you go.
It's been a rough go, and Jesse Marsh looks like his time is done, according to various folks of various levels of following, and we've yet to see anything officially official. So we will see, but right now it looks like Jesse Marsh has been sacked right after bringing in folks to try to keep them out of the relegation fight, and it looks like Carlos Corberan emerging as a potential candidate to replace Jesse Marsh. Rod Rosani and Parag Marathe, the owners, they'll have the key thoughts. So according to Alvaro de Grado, Jesse Marsh has been sacked by Leeds United. So we'll keep an eye on that this morning as well. Standings currently in the Premier League. What a fun morning. Currently your standings. And it's like, okay, we want to talk about Manchester City. Oh, by the way, Jesse Marsh looks like he's been sacked.
Manchester City is thankful for Leeds, and then Leeds will be thankful for somebody else when somebody else does something dumb,
and so on and so on. And they'll tell two friends. Arsenal up 5 points. They have a match in hand over Manchester City. Manchester City losing yesterday to Spurs.
Harry Kane. City absolutely fumbling the opportunity. But as I saw Manchester City's people say on the interwebs, you could tell us that we would go almost undefeated and lose one game all year. And that one game would be away at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Harry Kane.
Yes. And the interesting question by Ricky Ricardo is Chris Armas out of a job just like that? Don't know, because Leeds has not come up with any kind of official announcement yet. So
I do want to rag on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because people get mad every time, and they talk about failing up, like being an assistant isn't failing up in the same way that it's not like Chris Armas is getting Premier League jobs as a head man. It seems like by most accounts we'd heard, like Chris Armas was a genuinely good dude.
Yeah.
Um, didn't really hear a wayward word about him. Uh, and yeah, because he struggled in the second after he struggled in the long term at Red Bulls. It never felt like Toronto was the right fit,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like he's a guy that people like to be around, which makes sense. He's getting assistant jobs. You're
Yeah.
not handing him a head job. He's not. This isn't failing up in the way that like he keeps losing and keeps getting bigger league head coaching jobs. People bring him in to be an assistant because they like. I guess they like having him around, or maybe he's that guy who, like a Dan Quinn, who is built not to be maybe not built to be a head coach, but built to be an assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
might be the thing, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like
But some folks are
the
just good.
snark and vitriol on Chris Armas is something else, man.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like some folks are just good number twos.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you could be a good number two, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Was it Jim Johnson, who was with the Eagles for 145 years,
Mm-hmm.
or Dick LeBeau with the Steelers for 183 years.
Correct.
Both those guys were coordinators. They weren't head coaches.
Yeah.
Just some guys are just good at not being the head guy, just doing something smaller.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everyone is going back to the initial report
I feel
from.
like you're safe there, Bern. I don't really think Marsh is getting the U.S. national team job right now. I hope you're right, because I don't want him there either, personally.
Yeah. Looks like everyone is rolling back to this initial report from Relevo, which has 138,000 followers. Everyone is going back to that one. There's no secondary confirmation so far on Jesse Marsh. And okay, Paddy Power has Marcelo Bielsa as the favorite to replace him with the odds of 4-1. Yeah, so there you go. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think 4-1 at one point was the odds of Neil Lennon taking over Aberdeen, which is a circle of hell that Aberdeen is not ready for. Good God. Yeah, Chris Arms was to Atlanta. That's where mine comes from. And here's the thing, Ricky. I wished that we had gotten more of that from Chris Armas. Not being a mean person, but like I would have like we've talked about this before. I don't know why Red Bulls doesn't lean more into the blue collar. There's two teams in New York. You have New York City, who is the city group money, silver spoon. You are the Draco Malfoy of it all. Don't try and fight it. It's who you are. Be a villain in that respect. Like New York City, anytime something goes wrong, just hasn't. In my head, I hear, "Wait till my father hears about this," and that's fine. Be that. Lean into it. We need more villains. Like Red Bulls, like y'all go for the jersey thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like go for the blue collar, rolled up flannel sleeves, bloody knuckles from a fight last night. So hey, that was last night. We're due for one today.
Mm-hmm.
We're due for a scrap outside the bar. Go full jersey if you're Red Bulls, man. Go full go full blue collar with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Chris Armas had that energy right. I was fine with it. Like that's if that's what your energy is going to be, it's what your energy is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like Philly has gone full jerk with their energy. In the last it wasn't always the case, man. It wasn't always the case in Philly. Jim Curtin wasn't always that guy. Jim Curtin evolved into that guy. It was somebody. It was kind of like somebody had a wrestling character that just wasn't getting over. And then they're like, well, what if we reinvent it to this? And then he reinvented to what Jim Curtin is today. And it's worked, and it's more direct and more like in your face and more physical and starting fights. And yeah, Aberdeen deserves Neil Lennon for all they've done this year. Aberdeen deserves a lot. Aberdeen fans deserve a stiff drink, is what they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Byrne. Like, take Marsh back to MLS. Man, it'd be interesting in a place like St. Louis that looks like it's kind of going down that route with the way they're building that team. I mean, I know they're fine. They're not trying to fire their coach right now, but
No.
What do you think of the? I mean, with this, like, I mean, We can bend this over to another team that struggled in Liverpool. Like, at what point does Liverpool?
I think Klopp is done after this season. I think Conte's done at the end of this season for
I feel like
different reasons, but I think they're both done.
Like, the message wears thin sometimes, and Klopp he's lashing out, man. Like Klopp was fun for the last few years. It was fun. It was kind of jokey, and he was kind of goofy, and everybody loved him. But now that it's not going, now that things aren't really going his way, it's kind of like another. There's been another side of him that's come out. It's not as fun. I think everybody like wasn't expecting that side of him, and yeah, maybe it's time for a refresh for Klopp. Don't know where you go for that though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that with with Klopp, when he's mad at reporters for writing things, and then a reporter, and this is the reporter from the Athletic that's assigned to Liverpool, when that particular reporter wants to ask a question and Klopp will not answer the question from the reporter, but will answer the question if it's asked by another reporter, you're getting into some territory there. I mean, it's, and a lot of folks have pointed to Sadio Mane's exit and the team not being the same. A lot of folks have pointed to the front office, the brain drain as they call it, where you have all of that collective hive mind that created all the success. They've all departed and they've gone their separate ways, and it looks like Klopp is just the last one there from the group. I mean, it also looks like Liverpool's parent company, FSG, I think they're being looked at by a Qatari investment fund that's worth £373 billion. So is FSG going to be swallowed up by a Qatari group? That's something that you got to keep an eye on as well. And so you've got all the issues with Liverpool and the stuff with Antonio Conte. I think that literally, I think it just comes down to, I mean, he's recovering from gallbladder surgery right now. He had mentioned how rough this year has been on him personally because he's lost 3 very close friends. And I think that it's just, I mean, and his contract ends at the end of this year. So I'm of the thought that probably Klopp moves on, Conte moves on for different reasons, and that gives you 2 large openings in the Premier League, with meaning just big tickets, with Liverpool and Spurs next year. I think that you have Liverpool and Spurs open next year, and it's going to be an absolute free-for-all by both of those clubs trying to figure out who they're going to bring in possibly as managers. So, no, I mean, that's right now we're working on the one report from Relevo that is saying that Jesse Marsch has been sacked. So that's where we are right now. Everybody's rolling back to the Relevo report. And we were going through the standings before everything else happened. Arsenal, by the way, who lost to a team called Everton. Big win for Sean Dyche in that group. We'll get into the relegation fight in a second. Manchester City had their opportunity, but they are now still 1 match more than Arsenal. Match behind, 5 points behind. They had a chance to close the gap and did not get to do it. Manchester United at 42 points, 21 matches played. Newcastle at 40 points. They're unbeaten in their last 5, but they've drawn 4 of those. Spurs right now at 39 points. And there's that first group that we talk about. There's that literally there are always seemingly traditionally 3 groups that are up and running in the Premier League. So getting into group number 2, Fabrizio Romano now going, okay, so now we've gone from Relevo to Relevo and Fabrizio Romano. Jesse Marsch has just been sacked by Leeds United. Decision made after the recent negative results confirmed. Leeds board now working on a new head coach appointment. So have not won since November, and right now they're in the relegation fight. That second group, Brighton at 34. Brentford, by the way, who's unbeaten in their last 5. They've won 4 of 5. Fantastic work by Thomas Frank this year. They're at 33 points. Fulham's at 32. Chelsea's at 30 and 9th. Liverpool is 10th at 29 points. They've lost 3 of 4. Then you've got Villa, and I'll go ahead and I'll include Crystal Palace and Forest in group number 2 with 24 points. And by the way, Jarrett, your favorite goalkeeping son Keylor Navas. Nottingham.
CONCACAF's favorite goalkeeper, son. That's not even mine. All of CONCACAF gets that claim, buddy.
Keylor Navas to Nottingham Forest, and it was the owner of Nottingham Forest who dropped the idea of bringing Keylor Navas in, and everybody was like, really? I don't think we could pull that off. And it looked like they were going to. Then on deadline day, they weren't. Then Keylor Navas pushed for it. So Keylor Navas, in his first match for Nottingham Forest, bang, 1-0 win, Nottingham Forest at 24 points. And, and PSG is still paying a boatload of his salary. So this is basically a loan to the end of the year. Dean Henderson's injured. He's out for probably another month. So Keylor Navas has the chance to grab a hold of the Nottingham Forest starting goalkeeper gig. And when you win 1-0 and make 4 big saves, big win for Nottingham Forest. Now, the relegation fight, which was kind of what I was getting to with the sacking of Jesse Marsh this morning. Leicester City's at 21 points. Now, 6 points separate 7 teams right now. And so this is where your panic button comes. Leicester City, they snapped a 3-game losing streak. They've got 4 points in their last 2 matches. They got Spurs next. They're at 21 points in 14. Wolves, Julian Lopetegui is their new coach at 20 points. They've got Southampton. They've got a chance to separate themselves. West Ham gets Chelsea next. They're 16th at 19 points. Leeds has lost 2 of 3. They only have 3 points in their last 5. They've won once since November. They get Manchester United next. 18 points. Relegation zone on goal difference is Everton, then Bournemouth at 17 points, who've lost 4 of 5. They get Newcastle next, Southampton. Once again, we mentioned them. They get Wolves at 15 points. So you have 3 groups, 3 and 7 teams separated by 6 points there at the bottom. Leeds United has sacked Jesse Marsh this morning. So, you got Manchester City acting like Ron Washington at third base, waving somebody home from a short single to right. If he's Manchester City, he's just waving them home. Keep it going. Absolutely keep it going. More news to keep everybody from talking about Manchester City. And our intrepid social media searcher, Ricky Ricardo. LAFC and Chelsea are apparently negotiating once again from our friends at Relevo for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Why not? Why the hell not? Just go ahead and bring them all in. Just throw everybody up top. Like we were going to think with Bob Bradley initially. That 109 that Ricky's talking about may not be far from the truth. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Why the hell not? Chelsea and LAFC negotiate.
Look.
That's from Matteo Moretto at Relevo.
Look. What we're learning from all of this is that salary caps are a theoretical construct.
I was going to say construct. That was exactly the word I was going to use.
Salary caps aren't real. That's my takeaway from all of this. And maybe they're not real for everyone.
Yeah.
And maybe you bend the rules of the known universe just long enough so that you can make something magical happen. And then eventually you deal with the consequences later. Yeah. Hello, Atlanta Falcons. How are you doing?
56. 56 million.
It's New Orleans Saints also in this category because the Saints are continuously trying to figure out how to manipulate their cap for one more year, one more run. Then we'll quit.
Mm-hmm.
Just one more.
4-card. LAFC is the new LAG. Not wrong. Or Inter Miami, LAFC. You had Gareth Bale who said he was there for the long term. Oops. Then you got Chiellini who is there. You're bringing in all this firepower. You did send Chicho Arango away for $5 million to Pachuca, so you have that spot available. So why not? Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, come on down. I feel like I should do like a Bob Barker or something or another. But Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang left out of the Champions League list for this year. Borussia Dortmund round of 16 coming up in 9 days' time. Because of the negotiations due to a regulation that made it illegal, the striker, having played for both Barcelona and Chelsea, could not be registered for the second time in the same team, according to RFEF regs. Thus, he remained at Stamford Bridge. So, Matteo Moretto at Relevo. Relevo seems to be the place where we're going for a lot of stuff this morning. According to Byrne, Relevo is solid. Lots of good reporting on Spanish women's football. So, Byrne giving the thumbs up on Relevo this morning. So, yes, they do have a boatload of followers on the Twitters. But, yeah, Relevo breaks Jesse Marsh firing. And now Matteo Moretto is saying it could be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang next for LAFC. And to the point that was made, and this is very, very true, that Sean says Keylor Navas got Jesse Marsh sacked. That's true. With that 1-0 loss to Nottingham Forest, Leeds United made the decision this morning to sack Jesse Marsh.
It's CONCACAF on CONCACAF violence.
It is. It is absolutely. Yeah, and so, now everybody's putting on their notifications for Leeds United and what's going on there.
Yes.
So, we're going to keep an eye on all of that stuff. And you got international signings in the NWSL this morning. Hannah Gloss leaving Bayern Munich, apparently, for the Kansas City Current. All hell is breaking loose on a Monday. We like it that way, but, just kind of slow things down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's fantastic, all of this news that we're talking about. But, all right, so I think now we can officially get to Manchester City and what is going on with Manchester City. Martin Ziegler was the first one to post it onto his social media, and it's a boatload of violations. Here's the Amitai Winehouse version from The Athletic. Breaking their financial rules following a 4-year investigation, Manchester City accused by the Premier League. The reigning champs have been referred to an independent commission over alleged breaches of a series of financial rules between the 2009-10 and 2017-18 seasons. 8 years. I feel like Jeremy Piven in Grosse Pointe Blank. 8 years, man. Even though it was 10. 8 years. City are accused by the Premier League of not providing accurate financial information, quote, in particular respect to its revenue, including sponsorship revenue, its related parties, and maybe partiers, and its operating costs, end quote. The club are also accused of not fully disclosing managerial remuneration for a 4-year period. These related to the years 09-10 to 12-13 when Roberto Mancini was in charge. I feel like we need to have Nick in here to discuss Roberto Mancini. Also stand accused of breaching Premier League rules on profit and sustainability from 2015-16 to 16-17 and the 17-18 seasons. The Premier League has additionally alleged City did not comply with UEFA's regulations around club licensing and FFP in 2013 and between 2014-15 and 17-18. City were banned from European competitions for 2 years by UEFA for alleged breaches of FFP in February 2020. The sanction was overturned by CAS in July of the same year, however. Premier League statement announced the referrals. Proceedings before the commission will, in accordance with the Premier League rule, be confidential, heard in private. Under Premier League rule, it was a subset, the commission's final award will be published on the Premier League's website. Confirmation is made in accordance with the Premier League rule in Section 82. Premier League will be making no further comment in respect to this matter until further notice. City came out with a statement, quote, Manchester City FC is surprised by the issuing of these alleged breaches of the Premier League rules, particularly given the extensive engagement and vast amount of detailed materials that the EPL has been provided with, to end a sentence in a preposition. The club welcomes the review of this matter by an independent commission to impartially consider the comprehensive body of irrefutable evidence that exists in support of its position. As such, we look forward to this matter being put to rest once and for all, end quote. So that is your athletic version of what it was laid out for Manchester City.
My favorite part of this so far is Manchester City's response being like, we gave them everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, whether or not you did cooperate remains to be seen. You can tell me you cooperated, and it can not be true.
Mm-hmm.
Also, league can say that you did something that you didn't do. Like, no one ever here has ever told 100% of the truth, it seems. But my favorite part of this being like we cooperated with them. We told them what we did, and we're still getting punished. Yes, that's generally how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Cooperation does not exempt you from any punishment. It just might mean you get a lesser punishment, and it depends on how much you did cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
But I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like, we cooperated and things happened. Yeah.
It's like they're pointing to the 15 commandments
Correct.
of Mel Brooks in History of the World Part 1. We present you these 15, Crash, 10 commandments.
Just
we've shown this to you. If the charges,
we did what we were supposed to do.
We did what we were supposed to do. If the charges are proven, and this is from James Drucker at the Telegraph, the club could face an unprecedented range of punishments, including points deductions, sweeping fines, that's the words from Drucker, and the ultimate sanction of expulsion from the league. An independent disciplinary committee, which seems likely to be chaired by Murray Rosen, KC, will hear the charges. Hearings held in private. No timescale has been set. City sources believe the timing of the Premier League's announcement is no coincidence with a long-awaited government white paper on football governance due imminently, and they say it's going to be put out tomorrow. Insiders at the club feel it is part of a strategy by the Premier League to show they're capable of adequate governance amid calls for an independent football regulator. One source told Drucker, quote, "This is tactical," end quote. Eyebrows also raised at City that the club were not given any prior notification of the charges. It's understood Ferran Soriano, the chief executive, was first informed of the news as it was about to go live on the Premier League's website, and there is said to be some disquiet at the club that the elements of the media became aware of the information before the club did. 8 years worth of charges and financial reporting. Charged with not cooperating with the investigation, not handing over documents as required over a 5-season period from 2018-19 forward. The investigation was opened in 2019. Roberto Mancini's pay for 2012-13 season, not providing full details of player remuneration in the relevant contracts for a 5-year period. Alleged. CAS ruled in the initial overturning of the appeal. Most of the alleged breaches were either not established or time barred, and there's no such time restrictions under Premier League rules. Although it's understood City are confident they would have been vindicated by CAS even if some of the breaches were not time barred. Time barred. That's a lovely hyphenated way of saying statute of limitations. Statute of limitations is out. The Premier League investigation, Lord Justice Males, one of the judges, said in the ruling it was surprising and a matter of legitimate public concern that so little progress has been made after 2.5 years, during which it may noted the club has twice been crowned as Premier League champs. Sir Julian Flo, the Chancellor of the High Court, also said City's attempts to prevent their challenge from being reported in public were fanciful. He said the suggestion...
Fanciful, he says.
Fanciful. Quote, the suggestion that press interest and speculation might disrupt the investigation or the arbitration, where both are being conducted by experienced professionals, is entirely fanciful. Likewise, the suggestion that press comment and speculation following publication might damage the club's relations with commercial partners was unconvincing, end quote. That's a lot. That's a lot of paragraphs, man.
It is.
That is a lot of paragraphs to break something down. And I know that a lot of you in the Twitch pitch this morning are, it's like, yeah, bring it. Go for it. Absolutely. Yes, Coco. A white paper. It is a white paper, sir. And apparently it's going to be released as early as tomorrow.
A white paper. It's like is this kind of like a TPS report?
I think so.
We need new cover sheets for the TPS reports kind of thing?
Yeah, and you get your you get your white paper, then you get the what was it? You go to the store and you get you spend 39 cents on the plastic cover that would cover the front and the back, and then you get the little the slide rule that kept everything in place. That little the plastic slide that you went down the base of the of the papers with, and that way it kept it all in place as a book report. So white paper, Coco says white paper is just the data sheet, nothing substantial. Will is asking an LSU question. Didn't LSU's audit discover they'd underreported debt by like $140 million?
They also overpaid Brian Kelly by like $1 million this year. Good job, LSU.
Yeah, smells like Brian Kelly. Yes. And so Sean is like, so let's go after any big club for violations back in 1925. And Coco, this might very well be true. LSU debt is like Juve debt. It doesn't exist.
The term voodoo economics is most aptly applied to LSU athletics. The LSU athletic department it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Oh, four card. We talked about it, but we'll go back over it. Four card wanted to know what happened in Mexico for Atlanta United. It was two 60-minute matches or 4 30-minute quarters.
4 30-minute. Call it 4:30s.
4:30.
That's when the breaks were. That's when the breaks were in it.
Yeah, and so for Atlanta United, look at it this way: the first half, the first 2:30s, it was a 1-1 draw, a goal by Mateus Osechu that we did get to see on social media, and a goal by Atlante. And then in the third and fourth quarters, Atlanta United put in, much like they did in Chattanooga, a lot of their twos players, a couple of veterans. Clement Diop was in net, and it was another opportunity for Atlanta United to see their younger players operating together. And probably, Jarrett, the best way I can describe it, it's kind of like what we saw in USL Championship a lot of the time, where you had guys who were 17, 18 years old, 19 years old, a lot of young kids out there. Tyler Young was out there. You had younger kids going up against older, more experienced players in a club setting. And it was 3-0 at the end.
But I don't know how much Atlante was playing their kids in the second game, so it could have been kids on kids. I don't know. Second 45 was your kids out there. They lost 3-0. But again, without being able to see the stream, it's kind of like we talked about this before the game in Chattanooga. Like, the score isn't as important as how they're playing and how things are being scored and how execution is being done.
Mm-hmm.
So until we know that, like, and it's kind of hard to know it because I mean you're going to get it from the team at this point or anyone who's there,
right?
But yeah, I don't know. And then the next game is behind closed doors. It is what it is, man. I don't know. I'm just kind of on it. Like, preseason is preseason. It's cool to see your team back on the field playing a sporting event, but in the grand scheme of things, it's preseason. I wait for the moment of chaos that is the actual season.
Yes, and that's where we're going. Once again, remember that midweek Cruz Azul behind closed doors. Once again, don't know how much we'll get from that in the midweek. Then they come back, and the AmFam Cup with Toluca is on the 15th. Then they go to St. Louis for another closed door match where they get to see the new stadium. Then it's the beginning of the season. Oh, by the way, happy 6th MLS season pass day to all who observe. And as those who are drifting down their rabbit holes, I think we're still waiting for NYCFC content. But it looks like everybody's getting a lot of content, and there's a lot of stuff in there that folks are really enjoying with MLS Season Pass. We have subscribed here at the office, full disclosure.
State of Louisiana economics aren't real to ask. The state of Louisiana might not be real for all we know.
True.
There's a non-zero chance that the state of Louisiana is itself a shell company.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, are they still working? What currency are they working here? Do they still have CSA banknotes that are 160 years old that they're working with? We don't know. So that's where we are. But yeah, there's Manchester City. Yeah, and so you could. I mean, we talked about the Premier League, and I mean, and is this enough? Is this enough, say, for Pep Guardiola possibly to pack it in after this year?
Sure. I mean, I don't see why not. Like, go for it. Have a good. I mean, yeah, take a break, Pep. So you've
So
earned it.
yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting to see. And we were talking about this yesterday in our production thread about the differences with a Jurgen Klopp and a Pep Guardiola, and what you're seeing when you have those moments of frustration. You have Jurgen Klopp, who lashes out at media and just seems kind of surly and sandpapery, and Pep Guardiola wants to shake things up internally. Joao Cancelo moved on. You want to challenge your team in other ways, and you take a lot of that burden on yourself. I think that we're seeing that as a difference between Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, and how they handle these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like we talked about this. Like with teams, it gets stale, and teams change out players. We saw it here. We're seeing it right now with NYC. If you want to see it up close and personal, because NYC is basically changing out that entire team that won MLS Cup. Atlanta made changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're seeing a lot of these teams make these changes. So it's tough. You're gonna have guys cycle out, and you're gonna wonder like, oh man, we shouldn't have let him go. Well, at some point you got to make decisions, and you have to make really difficult decisions that aren't fun for anybody.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wish it on anybody because it's hard. It's so hard to like. It's so hard, especially in a league like that where it is balanced. Looking squarely at whatever the hell you are, Scotland, because you're so heavy loaded.
Yeah.
But for other leagues, it's so hard to get that balance right,
Yep. No question.
and to maintain it.
Yeah. Right now, according to Sky Sports Premier League, here's what could happen to Manchester City, and this is like all of them. Yeah, and Coco has posted it in the Twitch pitch, so I'll go ahead and reiterate it here. Potential punishments: ban on playing matches, whatever that means. I mean, that might be European competition. I don't know if you're a member of whatever league you're in, you don't want to have them playing less matches, whomever you are. Point reductions, replay matches. That would be kind of clunky, I would think. It's like, okay, here's the deal. You're going to replay matches that you won in the past. And so what are you going to bring back the roster from 2012 Manchester City to play a match?
Victor Company just got to take the suit off.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I mean, what if seriously, what if they have to play a replay match against Burnley?
Dzeko's got to get back suited up and play.
Yeah, Sean Dyche leaves Everton temporarily. He goes and sits the touch line for Burnley, and Vincent Kompany goes to the back line for Manchester City. If it's something from like 13, 14, whatever. Expulsion from the Premier League, I don't quite see that happening, just on the grounds of how large a presence Manchester City is. Heavy fine, that I could see. And the ownership at Manchester City would sit there and go, yeah, hang on just a sec. You could change for a 20. It's like, let me open my wallet. Unregistering some players and any other how's this for nebulous? Any other sanction the Premier League deems appropriate. It's like,
who gets to make that decision?
Really? I think the Premier League, that's the nebulous Premier League sanction of, yeah, we're going to hold this. We're going to sit here and say, this is what we want. So the Premier League's going to sit there and go, yeah, how about this too? You got to serve ice cream out of baseball batting helmets. That's another sanction. I mean, that's how ludicrous it could be. That's the all-ending, all-encompassing, any other sanction the Premier League deems appropriate. You all have to you all have to do like three-legged races. You have to tie two center backs together and do it as a three-legged race.
So did you? I can't remember if you talked about this from Jeff Reuter, the details on Leeds.
Have not.
Leeds took 2 points from the last 4 in the Prem, despite leading in XG in all matches. Now, this is getting into advanced statistics. People have weird opinions on advanced statistics at times. Those opinions tend to fly in multiple directions,
Yes.
and people get really salty really quick. And my biggest problem with advanced statistics is sometimes people decide they're very important, and sometimes they decide they don't matter at all, and it can be really inconsistent. In each match, chances were abundant. Leeds didn't look overmatched, unlike Everton, Bournemouth, and Southampton, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the manager's fault, not poor finishing. Right.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
and this is why I think.
But to Burns' point, defense as well, because that is a reoccurring feature, almost to the point where it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Mm-hmm. And this is where I think panic set in at Leeds with Rod Rosani and the ownership group. You basically, what you've done at Leeds with Jesse Marsh is you let him go through the transfer window.
That's the stupidest part.
You brought in folks, including Weston McKennie, to be there with a couple of his buddies, Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson. So you bring in Reuter, you bring in McKinney, you have an active window. And so we're going to give Jesse Marsh one match after the conclusion of the window to get things right. And last time I checked, Jesse Marsh was in street clothes and sneakers on the touchline. This is obviously all his fault that they can't score to save their own.
Well, and then I'm about to hit my time limit.
Yes,
but if we want to talk about defense, we can make this really uncomfortable for everybody, and we can discuss, defensive structure. Not everybody wants to have defensive structure or talk about it or work on it or deal with it because you had it getting. You spent the first part of the 2019 season having a manager come and try to install it to improve your defense. And people got really upset when that happened because you focused more on like getting back and having structure and less suicidal getting forward, to really simplify and like grind it down. You had a manager who was focusing on building like defensive structure and defensive integrity, and people didn't like it.
And you were one.
You were
out.
You were two very low percentage goals away from hosting another MLS Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Club statement out from Leeds United. We will catch up with you tomorrow, correct, Jarrett? I believe Jarrett is gone, so I guess we will catch up with him tomorrow. All right, so Jarrett, we'll catch up with Jarrett tomorrow. By the way, when you try to access the club statement on Jesse Marsh, the first time you click on it, it goes to an error message. I think that it unloaded everything. So as with the pop-up windows that show up. All right. 5 sentences. Leeds United can confirm Jesse Marsh has been relieved of his duties. Jesse joined the club in February of 22 and was instrumental in keeping the club in the Premier League on the final day of last season. Rene Maric, Cameron Toshak, Pierre Barriou will also leave the club, so it means that Chris Armas apparently is staying. We'd like to thank Jesse and his backroom staff for their efforts. Wish him well for the future. The process of appointing a new head coach is underway. We will continue to keep supporters up to date throughout the coming days. So 5 sentences from Leeds United. Jesse Marsh is gone. But sure, we'll help you out in the window. Yeah, Will. Thanos, yeah. You could not live with your own failure. And where did that bring you? Back to me. And Patrick Bamford, I mean, ever since he was injured last season, he has not been the same player. Yeah, when healthy the last year or so. So, all right, let's go over the January transfer window for Leeds United. So what did they do? It was a record-breaking January transfer window for Leeds. Servette center back Diogo Montero, Weston McKennie from Juve. 4 new additions in the month. Max Vober, Jorginho Reuter. Vober came from Red Bull Salzburg. Reuter came from Hoffenheim. Numerous departures, Mateusz Klich to DC United, Cody Drame, Joe Gelhardt, Luton Town, and Sunderland for the remainder of the deal. 10 incomings and outgoings, full list of the transfer business for Leeds. Montero, 3.5-year deal from Servette. Weston McKennie, loan deal, includes an option to buy. Reuter, 5.5-year deal in the region of 25, add-ons possibly as high as 35. Vober, 1st January signing, signed a deal through June 2027. Next bunch. Sanction the loan deal of Gelhart to Sunderland for the remainder of the deal. Drame to Luton Town as Luton Town tries to get promoted. Max Dean, permanent deal to the other club that left the city of Wimbledon that I'm not going to name by name. Rotherham took Leo Hilde. Alfie McCalmont left to go to Carlisle United, and Matthias Klick left. So 4 inbounds, Vober, Reuter, Montero, McKinney in. Bunch of loan deals out. So what do? You give him 1 match out of the window. 1 match out of the window. Ay. Burned. Red Bull Salzburg issues a sincere thank you to Jesse for buying all their players for top dollar before getting fired. Aronson, Christensen, and Vober. Yeah. You give him 1 match out of the window. You haven't won since November, and Jeff Reuter, as Jarrett said, Jeff Reuter broke it down. Oh, man. Yeah. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's all Marsh's fault that you can't put the ball in the back of the net. Absolutely. Yeah. And, if you think about it, everybody else in and around them, and we went over the relegation. We went over the relegation situation currently, that third group. And, you look at – and Tom and Ropes. I blame Sean Dyche as part of it. Everton won. Yeah, well, and it's 7 teams and 6 points, Nick's absolutely. Everton's win over Arsenal took them from 15 to 18 points. Leeds was at 18 points going in. Then the other one, you had Wolves, the 3-0 win over Liverpool, take them from 17 to 20. Leicester's 4-2 win over Aston Villa took them from 18 to 21, and a goal difference improved to -5 from -7. Leeds is at -8. So the wins by Leicester, Wolves, and Everton. Let's go back before the. Let's see if we can go back before the weekend and lay things out here. Let's see if we can figure out how it was before the weekend started and get into how it was. All right, so going into match week, after match week 21, here's how it was. Going into the weekend, Forest was at 21 points at 13th. We'll sit here and go, all right, so we'll take it from that third group. We'll include Forest here. Forest made it 8 teams separated by 6 points going into the weekend. Nothing like breaking a mouse. Hang on just a second. So you try to grab things and just fall apart all over the place. Okay. All right, now back to where we were. Relegation fight going into the weekend, 8 teams separated by 6 points. Forest at 21 points. Leicester, Leeds, West Ham, all within a goal of each other in goal difference. -7, -7. Leeds had 1 less win. That's why they were in 15th. West Ham, 5 wins, 18 points, -8. Wolves at 17. Bournemouth at 17. Horrendous goal differences for both. Forest, by the way, still has a horrendous goal difference. Everton at 15 points, Southampton at 15 points going into the weekend. So Leeds was in 15th place, a point out of relegation. Still haven't won, obviously, since November. But run of form, with adding in what happened this past week, you now have 7 separated by 6 instead of 8 separated by 6. Nottingham Forest's win elevated them to a fight for 12th and 13th. The wins by Leicester, Wolves, and Everton, I think, freaked out Rod Rosani and the ownership group at Leeds. But to only give a manager one match after a transfer window when you bring in Vober, Reuter, Montero, and McKinney. See, now, you're going to have to either trust Chris Armas or bring in a coach that is going to do things similarly, or it's going to be absolute chaos. You're going to have guys who are trying to do things that in a system, whoever the new head coach is, I know Carlos Corberán, Wes Brom was going to try to figure out how they could keep Carlos Corberán because apparently that's the number one name on the list. And why Bielsa's 4-1 is beyond me. But yeah, it's not meant to play like all those others. Michael Valverde, right? Yeah, and so this right now, unless you have Chris Armas as your caretaker manager, who understands the ideas that Jesse Marsh wanted to bring in and has there as a part of the system currently in place, unless you bring in someone from the outside or stick with Chris Armas that is similar in thought, it is going to be chaos trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. Oh God. Oh. Nix, I hope you're wrong. Nick says Big Sam incoming. Oh, man. All right. So let's just check. Let's see what the new manager odds are. See who the new manager's odds are from. We'll go Paddy Power because I don't want to go to because the 3-letter paper, to give you an idea, the 3-letter paper in their odds had Bielsa returning at 4-1. Paddy Power's got him returning at 5-1. Pochettino at 5-1. Hasenhüttl at 17-2, so 8.5-1 for Hasenhüttl. Ange at 7.5-1. Carlos Corberán is your clubhouse favorite at 5-4. Rafa Benitez at 10-1. Michael Carrick at 20, and yeah, whatever. Okay. All right. So, all right. So now the next manager to leave is Nathan Jones at Southampton at 3-1. So, yeah. So so 2 locations have a return of Bielsa somewhere in the margins. Carlos Corberán, according to Betfair, 3-1, and he's only been at West Brom for 4 months. So Corberán, Bielsa, Hasenhüttl, Pochettino, Postecoglou, Benitez. Thomas Tuchel is in there at 16-1. So that's what you're staring at. Carlos Corberán is right now in the clubhouse as your leader at 3-1. Bielsa's hanging in there at second at 5. Then you got Hasenhüttl, Pochettino, Postecoglou, and Benitez. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take that information at your own peril, but they at least did cut and paste it from Betfair. But yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, if you're a Leeds United fan, I am profoundly frustrated for you because your ownership freaked out. I'll say it. Your ownership freaked out. 3 teams around you won. You did not. You lost 1-0. it hasn't been the end of the world, as Jarrett said with Jeff Reuter. It's been 1-0. Your team just has not put the ball in the back of the net. Last time I checked, that is not on the manager. You're in control in a lot of stats if you believe in those kinds of things. And there you go. So, yeah, that's one way to take the story off of Manchester City this morning, is to be Leeds United for the wrong reason. One match after the window, then you send Jesse Marsch on his way. Yeah, you haven't won since November. I get it. Yes, you're in a relegation scrap. 3 teams around you won. I get it. You panicked. You signed 4 players in the window. One of them, Weston McKennie, on a loan deal. Reuter and Vober, you signed on decent-sized fees. Now you're freaking out. And I can see a lot of you not having a whole lot of patience with Leeds. No sympathy, nor should you, I don't think. Considering what Leeds United has just done in the last half hour, 45 minutes, sacking Jesse Marsch, I think Leeds is panicked. Because once again, right now, you're above Everton in goal difference. And by the way, we were going to get into what's going on in the Premier League from this past weekend and congratulate Sean Dyche and Ropes and the Airborne DJ for your win, getting your new manager bump with Sean Dyche and Everton with the win over Arsenal. Well done. Nicely done. But Manchester City couldn't close the gap on their own. Now they got other things they got to worry about. So once again, here's your relegation fight. After 3 teams around you won, you panicked and you fired your manager. Leicester City in 14th at 21 points. Next up, they have Spurs. Wolves up to 15th with their win. They're at 20 points, minus 15 in goal difference. They won their last time out. They get Southampton. They get Southampton on Saturday. West Ham drew Newcastle 1-1. They get Chelsea. They're at 19 points in 16th. Leeds. I mean, and here's your numbers. Let's just go back. Let's go back last 5. Goalless draw with Newcastle on New Year's Eve. 2-2 draw with West Ham on the 4th. 2-1 loss to Villa. Goalless draw with Brentford. Nottingham Forest wins 1-0 on the weekend. You're not getting blown out. Just you're not clinical enough. You're not putting the ball in the back of the net in all these other matches where, one chance here or there New Year's Eve. Another chance, in the draw with Leeds and West Ham at 2. Lose by 1 to Villa. Goalless draw to Brentford. Losing 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. And I know that a lot of you in the Twitch pitch were talking about how the Forest player looked like he was offside. Everton minus 12 in goal difference. Right now they're in the relegation zone, snapping a 3-game losing streak. Beating Arsenal, they get Liverpool. Liverpool, I think, can be had. Merseyside derby on the 13th on Monday Night Football, a week from today. Must-watch television. Bournemouth's lost 4 of 5. They only have 1 point in their last 5, and that was the 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest. They've got Newcastle, Southampton. They're adrift. I don't care what anybody says. I think that right now Southampton's probably going down. They've won once in their last 5. They get Wolves next. I think if Wolves wins here, this gives them a big boost, gets them further away from the relegation fight. And it wouldn't surprise me if they start freaking out again with Nathan Jones at Southampton. So there you go. Let's see. Okay. Burns says Leeds didn't panic. They realized Jesse has no real plan, even with the players he wanted. But, I mean, Burn, I think that at the very least, through the window, I think you should give a manager a chance to come through with the individuals that he brought in. And that's what I mean by panic. That's what I mean by that. You had 3 teams around you that won going into the weekend that kind of jumbled that 7 or 8. And then now you're sitting there going, oh, we got to do something. I think it's doing something for the sake of doing something because 3 teams around you won. And now you're just out of the relegation zone on goal difference. Tofka was ready to be a Leeds fan, and now you're just a fan of a few USMNT players on Leeds. Now Bielsa sporting director, Marsh is head coach. Michael Valverde, Liverpool experiencing the same run of form, can't score after dominating and giving up silly goals. Not the manager's fault, but once again, I think that Jurgen Klopp's done after this year. And yeah, Tom would take a point out of the derby right now. He would take a point out of the Merseyside derby right now. I think you can. I mean, it was, 2 goals in short order that Liverpool gave up. One was an own goal. And one was an own goal, a goofy-looking own goal. And then Craig Dawson scored to make it 2-0 in a hurry. So, yeah, so that's where we are with welcome to Monday. Leeds is looking for a manager. Yeah, that's true. Klopp doesn't count that last Wolves goal, John. Absolutely not. All right. So since we've gone way past the top of the hour, and like I said, thanks for all the comments you guys on the Twitch pitch this morning. See, we had breaking news, and then we had breaking news on top of breaking news. And now I know that a lot of folks are going to sit there and want Jesse Marsh to be in charge of the MNT, since he's going to be looking for work, and the MNT is looking for a head coach. So since it's that time, since we have gone past the top of the hour, let me take it out of loop and take it down to about 11 or 12. I always forget. Hit rock and read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. That's a Lemonized service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Lemonized created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonized service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Turnkey process makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that. Very green way of going about getting rid of odors. If I could get my upper plate to work this morning, get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Very green way of going about things. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard to grab the masking agent, spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. You're masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at the Lemonized service do. Pricing one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, and come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. Any questions that you have, you could ask Lemonized who be the next manager of Lemonized in the Premier League. Or maybe you need to get Lemonized over to Ellen Road. Go to the website, lemonized.com, and this is where I grab my pen. Lemonized.com, but do us a favor here at SDH, go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from so they can help you with your problem. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Lemonized.com /Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, proud sponsors of everything SDH. It's a Lemonized service on a wild Monday. Yeah, Tom, I put it down to 11 because folks said that 12 was too loud, 10 they couldn't hear it, 14 was way too loud, because this will be, here's 23. 39. There's 10. So there you go. I have no clue. I figured like 11, 12, somewhere in there. Yeah. That's where we are with the music. At least I took it out of loop. Yeah, at least I took it out of loop this morning. So to recap here in hour number 2, Manchester City, more than 100 alleged breaches of financial rules in the Premier League. Numerous alleged breaches. Premier League's referred the case to an independent commission. Manchester City say they're surprised by the issuing of all these alleged breaches, and they welcome a review of the matter. From 2009-10 to 17-18, clubs alleged to have breached rules requiring provision, quote, in utmost good faith of accurate financial information that gives a true and fair view of the club's financial position. The league says the accurate financial information required related to revenue its related parties, and operating costs. Second set of breaches lists refers to the alleged breaking of rules requiring a member club to include full details of manager remuneration and relevant contracts with its manager related to 0910 to 1213 inclusive. So that's Roberto Mancini. So it's his contract. Second set of breaches refers to requirements for a club to include full details of player remuneration within the relevant contracts of a 5-year period, 10-11 to 15-16. Third section deals with alleged breaches of Premier League rules requiring clubs to comply with financial fair play between 13-14 and 17-18. So it's 4 years of FFP, 4 years of Roberto Mancini's contract and the money that he was being paid, and it is 5 years of player contracts. Fourth set of alleged breaches relates to profitability, sustainability rules from 15-16 to 17-18 inclusive, so 3 seasons. Breached league rules requiring member clubs to cooperate and assist with Premier League with its investigations from December 18 to date. Premier League opened their investigation March of 2019, referred the alleged offenses to the Independent Commission. Yeah. So you could have punishments the Independent Commission could impose, suspend a club from playing league matches, points deductions, recommend to the board league matches be replayed, recommend to the board the league expel the respondent club, order compensation, fine, cancel or refuse registration of players, you get a suspension of player registrations, conditional punishment, order the club to pay costs, and make such other order as it thinks fit. That nebulous last one, we got to keep an eye on that one. If the Premier League is shown to be in the right here. 30 alleged number of breaches of Premier League rules. 25 alleged number of breaches of profitability, sustainability rules. 30 in assisting Premier League investigations. 8 in manager remunerations. 50 accuracy of financial information breaches of Premier League rules. 100 times in a 9-year period. So that's what you're staring at for Manchester City. So there you go. Also, once again, early in hour number 1, Jesse Marsch sacked by Leeds United. So 11 is good. Good to know. Tafka, everything happens for a reason. I think Marsch was meant to get the USMNT. Could only happen if Leeds let him go. Here we are. Let's see if it all lines up. Sam City are surprised they got caught. They thought they paid off all the right people. Yeah, so that's let me go back into your comments, go back all the way to the beginning, and I'm going to apologize if we've addressed it. But, yeah, you guys have been great this morning with all your comments and conversations in the Twitch pitch amongst yourselves. And so, yeah, we went through a lot of stuff with Atlanta United and their activity at Atlante. We went over the schedule with what's going on with them. So Sean wants to talk about Harry blanking Kane. He is now the highest goal scorer in the history of Spurs. Mazel tov, congratulations and well done. I had him on my fantasy team. I also had Erling Haaland on my fantasy team this week, but a big win for Spurs, obviously for a bunch of different reasons. And Sean, I know that we talked about it, but I don't think Antonio Conte comes back next year. I really don't. It doesn't matter the level of success. I think that with this surgery and with the passing of 3 friends, I think that he's going to take an introspective look at where he is, and he's going to look out for number 1. And so that's what I'm looking at when it comes to Harry blanking Kane. Well, it's it comes down to when you're talking about Georgios Giacomakis, it is, it's visas, it's work visas, ITCs, P1s. He's probably going to join him in Mexico. And so we'll keep an eye on Giacomakis and his return. Luis Abram was official over the weekend as well. So those are 2 vacancies for Atlanta United. And to Tom's point, yeah, holdups with visas and paperworks. And that's where we are. And that's the thing, Ricky, also. Ricky reminds us that Joseph Martinez got in late too. So that's where we are. And going through, and our opening kickoff had to do with CF Montreal not having their 2023 kit ready for the upcoming season. Coco, just do it like Inter Miami, black and white T-shirts. And Ricky liked the old snowflake M. Yeah, I mean, I thought I can go with the snowflake M, and I can go with the old fleur de lis. I think one should be on one should be on the other. And Montreal acting like the new Vancouver. The Unity kit. Oh, that's right. They did misspell on there. Well, and then also not a great debut for Weston this weekend. Once again, I'm looking at it as you're trying to integrate. It's like go in there and try to do something, and you try to get Weston McKinney to integrate. I guess is the proper word. Just kind of throwing him in there, see what he can do, and see if anything happens. Coco City hopefully getting deducted into oblivion. Leeds can't help themselves from doing stupid things. They can't even fire a manager at the right time. And so, like I said, saw nothing on Chris Armas, Ricky. So right now, it looks like Chris Armas might be your caretaker manager. So we'll keep an eye on that. And Sean, it's not Jesse's fault. The guys can't score. And so I know a lot of you are divided with Jesse Marsh and the USM&T. Coco, he actually did do that with the last name. That's disappointing. Mispronunciation of Chris Armas's last name. And examples of great number twos that weren't the best number ones in the world. Buddy Ryan is another example. And Sean, Leeds has an identity issue right now, especially with if they're going to bring in someone whose philosophy is different than what Bielsa and Jesse Marsh were trying to put out there. This will be interesting. This will be interesting. Philosophy of the coach they bring in. That's what I want to see. Transfer window rack closes in a while. I mean, it's like April, I want to say. April or early May for MLS. So MLS teams can still do stuff for a long period of time. Let me double check. I want to get my dates right. MLS transfer window, provided I could spell the word window. April 24th was what it looks like. Hang on. Primary transfer window is January 31st to Monday, April 24th. So that's what you're staring at. Those are your transfer windows. Primary transfer window in Major League Soccer. We're in it through April 24th. Clubs can request the international transfer certificate of a player under contract in another country. Deals may be agreed upon outside the below windows. The transfer and receipt of the ITC are required in order to officially add a player to a roster, making him eligible for official competitions. All in-season trades between MLS clubs must take place within either the primary window or the secondary window. Secondary window is July 5th to August 2nd, so it's basically a month. The primary transfer window for Major League Soccer, January 31st to Monday, April 24th. Roster compliance deadline has to be done in 18 days. Basically, Friday night at 8 before opening day. Roster freeze, period, September 13th. Must be roster and budget compliant 8 o'clock the night before the season starts. So that's where you are. Transfer window for MLS clubs until April 24th. So that's your date. Says Coco. I'm catching back up on what Jarrett saw in hour number 1 about Aberdeen definitely deserving what's going on. And that's the thing. When we're talking about Red Bulls, they need to embrace the jersey. They really do. And you play in New Jersey, you're out there, you're doing that. Let NYCFC have New York. And so we'll talk to Dylan Butler again about this when he joins us on Wednesday, high school basketball permitting, about Red Bulls embracing New Jersey. Go ahead and do it. Make yourself, keep the New York, New Jersey, or keep the Red Bulls in New York, or keep the RBNY, or whatever you want to do. New York, New Jersey, Red Bulls, whatever. But what you need to do, you need to embrace New Jersey. Embrace the New Jersey aspect of it. You don't play on the left-hand side of the Hudson River. You play on the right-hand side of the Hudson River. Embrace that. Embrace the New Jersey part of the whole thing. You need to. And I think the sooner that you do that, you might end up getting more fans out of the deal. But that's just me. Coco Tuchel makes sense for Leeds. Also thinks that Klopp walks after this season just to take a break. And the goofy is fine when you're winning. And here's a question. Well, that's would Jurgen Klopp want to coach a national team? Interesting. That's an interesting thought. Would he want to coach a national team? I know, Tom, you're specifically thinking the men's national team, but would he be interested in coaching a national team? Burned. Marsh is good with players, especially young players. Clearly missed the entire chapter of defensive structure and transitions in his coaching course. Yeah, and probably you couldn't afford him. Coco to Burned. Dortmund fan definitely asking for a friend here. Not myself. What's defensive structure? Yeah, and I think, Tom, you might be onto something. Taking a sabbatical, take the Germany job after the 24 Euros. That might be there. And Coco, once again, I think you're right. You got handed a knife in a relegation fight if you're Everton. Oh, yeah, and we also had the news from Ravello about allegedly LAFC and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Yeah, that 109. Heading toward that 109 that we saw with Bob Bradley. Heading that way. Let's see. Frank Lampard, Everton. Really like Lampard the man. But Sean Dyche in the win against Arsenal shows just how poor a manager he is. Talent in the team, not Champions League talent, but at least mid-table talent. Frank was never the right man for the job. Only lasted as long as he did because the club didn't want to sack yet another manager. The board was not in attendance either. Board was not in attendance. That was really interesting. And so staring at that, yes, and Sean Vergara, Gareth Bale went there to check out the country club. Like, shoot, he can get into Riviera. Come on now. You can get into Riviera without any kind of a problem. Sean, the 4-year investigation sounds like a DC waste. Yes. D. Graham, if all the allegations are proven, MCFC should join Marine in the 8th tier. Although Coco's like, just join Wrexham in the 5th. But Wrexham, right now, I think Wrexham's in an automatic promotion spot. So they might be able to make it into League 2. So they would be with my guys from Scunthorpe. My guys from Scunthorpe United, who, by the way, finally have an owner. And ever since they got an owner, they've actually been doing fairly decent. Right now, back and forth, Wrexham with 2 matches in hand is in the promotion playoff spots with Woking. Notts County, 30 matches played, 71 points. Wrexham, 2 matches in hand, 3 points behind, and it is them. It's Notts County and Wrexham 1-2. It's going to end up that way. Just don't know the order. Woking and Chesterfield, Barnet, Boreham Wood. I don't like saying Boreham Wood. Scunthorpe, after finding an owner, is now no longer last in the National League, but they've also played 30 matches. 5 points adrift. Maidstone, 6 points adrift. So, if you want Manchester City to go to the 5th tier, you're playing folks like Yeovil Town, Solihull Moors, Aldershot, Dagenham, and Redbridge. That's what you're staring at right now. Dagenham and Redbridge and Manchester City at the Etihad next season. Absolutely. Oh, Coco, that'd be great. Well, actually, if you did all or nothing Manchester City from the 5th tier, that'd be a hoot. Although I don't know if they'd be interested in doing it. But Wrexham and Manchester City going at it for some reason in the 4th tier if they were in League 2. Michael, it was as far back as 8 years ago. So yeah, it's 8 years, and it goes back to the time when Mancini was manager. Is when it started. His salary, it seems to be some of the earlier financials. That's the earliest part with Mancini that was involved. So it goes back to the Mancini era, and when he was It actually started 14 years ago. Starts in 2009, goes on until 2018. So when Mancini was manager, 09 to 013, that was the first part. But yeah, a 9-year period, 2009 to 2018. So it ended 5 years ago. This particular investigation started in 2009 with Roberto Mancini's salary. Stops there, but still then you have the underlying stuff. So yeah, 2009 is the earliest year, and it deals with Manchester United's coach's salary, and then you had other stuff going through 2018. So there you go. Yeah, burned. Just wait until they investigate the current Chelsea dealings. Well, I mean, right now, you're looking at right now Chelsea. You're looking at the reason that they pushed FFP. That they pushed FFP to a 5-year plan instead of 3 because of these 8.5-year deals. Tom Russo made your feelings on FFP quite clear. Something actually happens to City, I'll be shocked and amazed, but happy. Yeah, Coco, City and Wrexham going to have a hell of a derby. But the thing is, I know that we're talking about it being next year, but this is going to be bogged down into so many different elements. It's going to be bogged down into so many different things. You could have appeals and then appeals of appeals, and it will continue to go, and legal recourse and all that kind of stuff. It will be, it will not be something that will take. This will not be immediate. As much as we might like to sit here and say City and Wrexham next year in the National League, even though it might be League Two, it ain't going to happen quick. This will not be something immediate. And keep an eye on it, though. Yes, cooperation does not absolve you from punishment. We'll keep an eye on that. Then the great conversation that the real problem is not whether City or PSG followed FFP rules, is the FFP rules are bad. Yes, that is. Yeah, and they're so easily navigable and enforcement. So navigation and enforcement, both ends of the deal here. That's what you're staring at with FFP. So that's what you're looking at. Yes, Ryan Reynolds inhales heavily having to play City. Yeah, so that's what you're looking at. Everybody's looking back at the Leeds Forest goal. Mentioned that on mentioned Big Sam. Yikes. Yeah, he said, we look at Big Sam and you sit there and you just kind of duck your head and you go, please. Let's see. Tom Russo, from where Everton was to take 4 points from Arsenal and Liverpool all day, knowing that Merseyside derby would be that way. Absolutely. Also, Commando, yes, absolutely. Glad you mentioned this. Saddened by your Sounders Club World Cup result, heartbreaking at the end. You had most of the action in your end, and it was a deflection in the 88th minute. Deflection in the 88th. That's what you're staring at, and that keeps the Seattle Sounders from going up against Real Madrid in the Final Four of the Club World Cup. A deflection in the 88th minute. You had control most of the time. And we found out later that there was a bit of I think it was a thigh or a hamstring with Roldan. That's why Danny Leyva came in. But, yeah, I mean, you had fatigue from the Sounders late. I mean, they were out there and it's their first competition back, and you're thrown into the deep end of the pool against ATLUTD in the Club World Cup. You hung with it, but you could tell that there were some tired legs out there. And then a deflection for a shot Stefan Fry probably would have handled just under normal circumstances. Slight deflection, sends it off to his left, out of his reach. 88th minute, ATLUTD advances in the Club World Cup, winning 1-0 over Seattle. But nothing to be ashamed of. And the other thing, that shout out to the Sounders fans that made the trip to Morocco. Nicely done by y'all. And I heard on the broadcast, and we'll get into the broadcast in a second. And the club paid for the tickets for the Sounders fans that went to Tangier to see this match. Good on Seattle to pay for the tickets for the fans that made their way all the way over. And Ricky, that's where I was going. For a network that claimed that it was an events-based network, not games per se, but events. They were investing in events. This was an event, and it was a big deal. For the network to broadcast fine, I'm over it. For Fox, as a soccer entity, to say that you're into event coverage now. We cover events. We don't do games. We don't really do game coverage. For Fox to not even have announcers in Los Angeles. Yes, I know it was 8 o'clock in the morning. Was it 8:30, 9 o'clock? Let's just say 8 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. To call Seattle Sounders and Al-Ahly. You rely on the world feed, and the world feed being broadcast to an American audience who I thought it, and once again, this is not the fault of the announcer on the world feed, but it just came across as that the American audience and the Seattle Sounders were being talked down to. But once again, you can't know where your broadcast is going if you're the world feed play-by-play guy. But for Fox to not even have, for a split infinitive, not to even have, not even to have. I'm sorry, let me get my infinitive next to each other. For Fox, who didn't seem to be interested in having their own broadcast team call the match, that's disappointing for that network that claims that they're an event. This was a big event and a big deal. First time a Major League Soccer franchise wins CONCACAF Champions League, goes into the Club World Cup. So what do? You rely on the world feed for FIFA for a broadcast back to the States. That is not the kind of decision that needs to be made for a big deal for a network that claims it's into event broadcasting. Club World Cup's an event. And then after this, you broadcast the semifinals and the final. If you're into events, Club World Cup's a nice event. You had a team that was playing in a quarterfinal or round of 6, however many teams were left, round 2, and you didn't put announcers on it. Maybe they were shorthanded. Maybe they had, folks that couldn't do it. I don't know. I don't know what the staffing situation was. But for a network not to broadcast, yeah. And Ricky, you're spot on. No pregame show, no John and Stu. It was sad to see. Fox do better. I know that, Apple is, Apple's the major domo for Major League Soccer. Ricky, once again, they took the time to negotiate whatever little deal with MLS, didn't even put much effort into highlighting arguably the biggest moment in league history. So, yeah. So, thumbs down. Who was it that did thumbs ups and thumbs downs? Was it Rudy Martzke? I'm losing my mind. But usually in the Monday paper, and I think it was the USA Today, I think it was Rudy Martzke who did thumbs ups and thumbs downs at the end of the week. This is a definite thumbs down and a major disappointment for a network here who had a chance to sit there and throw their collective MLS weight behind the team that was in the Club World Cup for the first time. Didn't do it. That's on you. That's on you, Fox. Bad move. That was not cool. getting into the discussion about embracing the New Jersey if you're Red Bulls. Emilio, Devils were able to create a New Jersey vibe. Ask him how. Emilio says, hint. Start with the name. Hint, hint. So there you go. So there you go. Yeah, their starting 11 worth more than the entire league. Pep's wardrobe probably worth more than the fifth half tier. Yeah. I mean, and Nick's was at a family thing. Couldn't watch a Club World Cup. It was on FS2. So unless you have that on your cable, which mercifully we do here in Office HD. Yeah, so I was watching FS2 and got the world feed. Should have done a lot better. Emilio don't know about Stu. Don't know why he didn't get picked up by Apple. Unless Stu wanted to continue to be a part of the events that that Fox is a part of with their World Cups and all of their other tournaments and things like that. If John and Stu want to be John and Stu on Fox, then they'll be John and Stu on Fox. That's probably the best way that I can describe that. So that's probably the best reason I could sit there and think of. You like your role that you're in. You like being partnered with John Strong. You like not doing the Club World Cup. Did I say that in my out loud voice? I just did. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and stuff to watch before we go this morning. And once again, guys, thanks for flying around with us this morning on breaking news aplenty. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, possibly from our friends at Ravello, being looked at by LAFC. And keep an eye on that as we roll forward. Jesse Marsch sacked by Leeds. Manchester City had 100 charges dropped on him by the Premier League on a basically 100 plus charges starting in 2009, ending in 2018. And so we'll see what happens there. The white paper produced by the government about governance and the Premier League, supposed to be out as early as tomorrow. Burned now that Mallorca beat Real. Stu doesn't need the TV announcer money anymore. Yeah, Knicks is just waiting for the LAFC FFP charges. So we'll see what happens there. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and juice boxes before we go. Once again, guys, thanks for hanging out this morning. It was on a breaking news Monday. Liverpool listening to offers for Joel Matip, whose contract runs till 2024. Former Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho wants to return to Stamford Bridge for a third spell, according to Gimme Sport. He approached the prospective new buyers when the club was up for sale. Chelsea opening to hiring Luis Enrique if they choose to replace Graham Potter. That's according to Fichajes. Barcelona monitoring Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang as well. I'll keep an eye on that. Newcastle's keeping an eye on Conor Gallagher after holding talks with Chelsea over a January move. Fulham have placed a £35 million price tag on Jedi Robinson, currently attracting interest from Man City, AC Milan, and Inter Milan. That comes from the three-letter paper. So take the information at your own peril. Sorry, I had to take a bit of a sip of a drink. Pierre-Emerick sounds like a bad hockey announcing mashup. Well, I know that folks hold Doc Emmerich in higher regard than they do Pierre Maguire. So, but yeah, David, you're not far off. Also on the board this morning, Atletico Madrid have moved ahead of Juve in the race to sign N'Golo Kante when his contract expires this summer. Formal bids to buy Manchester United expected this week, with initial offers expected to pass £4 billion. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, early front runner, four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Three-letter paper says Liverpool prepared to sell 24-year-old Ireland keeper Shalman Kelleher, who wants first-team football. Liverpool and Villa set to test Bill Bowles' resolve next summer with bids for Nico Williams and Woyhan Sanchez. Bayern Munich's sporting director Hasan Salihamidzic says the €70 million fee for a permanent deal included in the loan for João Cancelo will be difficult to meet. Brazil midfielder Philippe Coutinho lined up for a loan transfer by Galatasaray after a difficult season with Aston Villa. That's from the three-letter paper. And since we've mentioned Turkey, obviously everybody send their love and best vibes to everyone affected by the overnight earthquakes in Turkey and in Syria. That is where the fourth screen is this morning for me, keeping an eye on all that stuff. PSG are in talks with Lionel Messi over a new contract, 4-letter paper. You heard that one before? Emilio, soccer coverage needs Don Cherry. Don Cherry is still with us. He still does Grapevine. And our friends at the Fired Up Network, Broadcast Grapevine, comes out once a week. So follow Fired Up Network on the Twitters. And Don Cherry's Grapevine does come out once a week. And I figured that Alexi Lawless was soccer's Don Cherry, but that's just me. Also on the board, that's the BBC gossip. Let's see what the papers say when it comes to what Sky has pointed. And let me see if we can find the papers. Okay, so let's see if there's anything different in the papers. Avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter, as we always do. The Telegraph has David Moyes saying that Declan Rice, as everything explodes, will command a British transfer record if he ever leaves. And we'll keep an eye on that. Daily Mirror, David De Gea is confident that Marcel Sabitzer will fill in well for Casemiro during the suspension. And if you listen to Eric Ten Hag was thinking, he said publicly that Crystal Palace players were worse in their behavior than Manchester United and Casemiro was in his during the 3-game during the red card in the coming together in the Crystal Palace Manchester United game. So Casemiro, 3-game suspension, and we'll keep an eye on that. But David De Gea is confident Sabitzer can fill in. Also on the board, Fenway Sports Group no longer interested in the full sale of the club. It has been claimed. Liverpool's painful midseason form can be summed up by the fact that their top league scorer since the World Cup is Leicester City defender Wout Weiss. Germany national team boss Hansi Flick was in attendance for Chelsea's goalless home draw against Fulham. The speculation over Graham Potter's future continues. Manchester United would be willing to pay £107 million to sign Victor Osimhen at the end of the season, according to reports. Yeah, that reporter reports he's done some quality work over time. Mason Mount rejected Chelsea's offer of a new deal, unhappy at the terms that were put on the table, according to that guy again. Reports. Keep an eye on him. The Guardian had a bobsledding story, so we'll keep an eye on that. Also, amid the earthquakes in Turkey, former Newcastle winger Christian Atsu reportedly missing. Some of the 31-year-old's Hatayspor teammates have been rescued from the rubble, but Atsu is still missing. So word is he was said to be missing after members of the technical staff and club had been pulled out of rubble, and that was Hatayspor was one of the affected provinces in Turkey there in the southwest corner. Atsu is part of the Magpies team, which won promotion back to the Premier League back in 2017. And a post on Newcastle's Twitter account praying for some positive news at Christian Atsu 20. Scored deep in stoppage time on Sunday to secure a 1-0 win over Kashimpasa, left after the summer of 21 after making 121 appearances. The 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit southeastern Turkey, northern Syria during the early hours of Monday morning, followed by a second 7.5. As of right now, 1,700 people are known to have died in the border region, rescue teams searching for survivors. And like I said, fourth screen is there this morning, and I've been watching a lot of CNN Turkey and keeping an eye on all that stuff. David, there's absolutely nothing wrong with hockey discussion. Nothing whatsoever. Considering that now is the time really to start watching, because anything up until probably the first of the year, regular season to the first of the year, maybe through the All-Star break, doesn't really matter. Now it matters. Two of the big guns in the Eastern Conference right now are the wild cards, being chased by 3 more in very close proximity. What Boston's doing this season is ridiculous. Linus Ullmark is putting up some amazing numbers. And there's talk, and I've never heard this happen in my history of listening. You could be looking at Boston resting players down the stretch because their lead is so big when it comes to points in the playoffs. So we'll keep an eye on that. Napoli rolling. Yep. And Shout out to our friends at Paramount Plus and CBS Sports, Poppy Miller and the crew. They were in Boston celebrating the Milan Derby, the Madonnina on the weekend at a pizza joint. Very, very brave of them to do so. So, very, very brave of them, and they survived. And once again, the Milan Derby did not disappoint. Looking at other things, stories, and things left unsaid before we go. I'm trying to see if we missed any other breaking news this morning. Jamie Carragher needs to stop. Did Holland join the wrong club in Manchester City? Not even going to give that the time of day. The white paper has now officially been delayed. The football governance white paper has been delayed as of 3 hours ago. Not published as planned this Wednesday. So now we have an update on the white paper. DCMS officials have now completed and signed off on all the details of the paper. Sky Sports News understands the Cabinet Office has yet to finalize their sign-off due to commitments elsewhere. Government schedules have become overloaded in recent weeks due to ongoing multiple strike actions across many public sector agencies. This week, the NHS in England is preparing for the biggest round of strikes. No date for the publication of the paper has been rescheduled yet. However, it will be soon. Next week, Parliament is in recess, so any new date for publication would have to be towards the end of the month at the earliest. So, Football Governance White Paper, when published, set to adopt many of the key recommendations of former Sports Minister Tracy Crouch's fan-led review, which she completed in November of 2021. Government backed the review's recommendations in April of last year, hoped to publish a white paper which sets out the details and legislative process by July last year, thwarted due to a turbulent time in Westminster, 3 prime ministers in 7 weeks. When the paper is eventually published, expected a new regulator for football will come in, a ban on clubs joining breakaway leagues enforced, Super League, tougher club ownership rules, and a greater say for fans in the running of their clubs. That's just I don't know about that, folks. We'll find out what the white paper says, but now the white paper will end up coming our way at the end of the month. So we'll keep an eye on that. Things to view today. We'll go into the TV part, and we'll go into juice boxes before we go. Super League. Keep an eye on Super League. Fenerbahce Konyaspor is supposed to be at noon. We'll keep an eye on the Turkish Super League and see if they suspend league play or anything like that. We'll keep an eye on that. ESPN Deportes, Rayo Vallecano Almeria at 3. Portuguese Primeras on Gold TV at 4:15. If you don't have Gold TV, you can go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you can pick up Fanatis, help out the show and help out the network a little bit. And at the same time, you can catch Gold TV. You've got BN Sports. You've got Tay Say. Jason got me hooked. So it's fntz.co/soccer down here. On the Plus, Championship, Monday Night Football, Blackburn and Wigan, 3 o'clock. And Vallecano Almeria is at 3 o'clock. Burgos and Las Palmas is at 3 o'clock. Fanatis USA has the Sudamericano U20s triple header starting at 3. Paramount Plus, the Argentine Primera at 6. Defensa y Justicia, no word of whether Edwin Mosqueda will be in the lineup or in game day 18 as they go to Gimnasia La Plata, 7:30 Huracan in Bonfield. Serie A on Paramount Plus. Hellas Verona Lazio's at 12:30. Monza Sampdoria is at 2:45. So now, juice boxes to finish us up today. And once again, Nix, they do. They absolutely, Paramount Plus absolutely gets it when it comes to their Serie A coverage. And, it's fun to see Poppy Miller flourish in an environment like that. Friend of the network, Poppy Miller. Hopefully we'll get her on here at some point to discuss what's going on in Serie A with her beloved Forest and everything else going on as we get the MLS season up and running. So no doubt about that. So juice boxes, obviously right now we've got action going on in Middle East, North Africa, and the far east. I mean, hey, 9 o'clock this morning, we had the Azerbaijani Premier League going. Okay, so the Super League, Demirspor and Umranyaspor was postponed at 9 o'clock this morning. So we'll keep an eye on the others as a rule today. It looks like everything has been postponed today in the Super League. Fenerbahce, Konyaspor, Giresunspor, Kayserispor postponed. So it looks like the Super League in Turkey has postponed everything today. 12:30, Verona, Hellas Verona, Lazio. Lazio on the road's a -105. Hellas Verona's a +330. Also, working our way through, you got Campeonatos in Brazil starting at 1:30 in the afternoon in the lower divisions and in the individual provinces. Premier League Cup is at 2 o'clock this afternoon, the lower divisions. Going on in England, 2:45. Monza at home, a -128, hosting Sampdoria at a +409. You've got Blackburn, Wigan. Blackburn even money +100, hosting Wigan, who's almost a +300 on the road. Rayo Vallecano, a -118 at home against Almeria, who's a +357. A lot of the other ligas going on. Liga MX Femenil at 4:45. Club America, big favorite, hosting Club Leon. You have South America starting late in the afternoon, heading into the evening. Huracan is a -123 in the LPF in Argentina, hosting Bonfield, who's north of +400. Liga MX Femenil, 8 o'clock. Tigres, a big favorite at home against Atlético San Luis. 8:05. Pachuca is a -417, hosting Santos Laguna. And your nightcap at 10:10. Monterrey, big favorite at home tonight against Querétaro. So that is your day in the world of sports. Knicks. There's one more friendly in Mexico midweek against Cruz Azul. It's behind closed doors. I don't know what kind of highlights we're going to get. So after the midweek, then they come home, get ready for AmFam Cup on the 15th. Then they go to St. Louis to see that new venue, and then the season starts with San Jose. So one more friendly for Atlanta United behind closed doors against Cruz Azul in the midweek, and we'll see how rock paper scissors goes for the Atlanta United guys, and see how continue high-powered rock paper scissors goes for Atlanta United as they are training in Mexico and getting ready for the season. So that is another round of soccer down here. Very busy morning. Excuse me. Went a bunch of different directions because, you thought you had a story that was going to be carrying you through, and then you end up with two other breaking stories as we go. And once again, thanks to all of you guys on the Twitch pitch for hanging out with us. We'll post the story, and we'll post the show on the network coming up in short order, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow as we roll into preseasons and get you ready for activity here in the South and here in all the leagues that are within our touch. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. Enjoy your day. Keep the warm thoughts for those who need them, and keep your eye on everybody else, and keep an eye on each other. So once again, thanks for hanging out on the Twitch pitch. Since it is the end of the show, that means that I get to do this. Mucha platial, play it safe, and we will see you Tuesday at 9:05. Unless, of course, you hit the wrong thing and hit the intro instead of the outro. So let's try that again. Let's do it. Let's do this again. The outro is what you're supposed to hit when you end the show. See you tomorrow.